Okay, so we're going to look at area and perimeter using composite shapes. So we've talked about area before, and you would have done it last year. This is the general sheet that you would normally get when you were taking the grade 9 EQAO. It's a formula sheet that's just got all of the areas and perimeters of common shapes. Now, typically there's a second sheet that goes with this that has volume and surface area, but for now we're just going to be considering area and perimeter. One of the things that we looked at before was Pythagorean Theorem. Now, we need to be able to look at questions like this that are a little bit different than a regular question. And we need to be able to find out things like A, B, C, D. And then the important thing is this. It says leave in square root form. So knowing Pythagorean Theorem, we know that the first triangle, which is this one, well, the general form for Pythagorean Theorem, I'm going to write up at the top, is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we're trying to find c, and we're actually trying to find a in this case, but we're going to write it like this. A squared equals 1 squared plus 1 squared. Well, 1 squared is 1, so that's 1 plus 1 is 2. And then we're taking the square root, so we know a is the square root of 2. Okay, and it said leave in square root form. So that's the first one. That's the easiest one. The second triangle here, so now instead of a, we've got root 2. So then the second triangle is going to be b squared equals root 2 squared plus 1 squared. Okay. Now, root 2 squared, root 2, the square root of 2, and then squaring it is actually just going to be equal to 2 again. So this is really 2 plus 1. So this is b is equal to square root of 3. And then we can change that. Root 3, c, and then lastly, I think you can see the pattern here. We're going to get d is equal to root 5. This is a common question that's on math exams and things like that. So things like EQAO and different types of exams, because it shows that you understand why leaving it in the square root form is important. Okay, so looking at composite shapes. So a composite shape, the figure to the right is a composite figure. So how would you define a composite figure? Well, a composite figure is 2 or more shapes added or subtracted with each other. So the shape on the right here, with each other. The shape on the right here is a rectangle with half of a circle taken out of it. So how would you calculate the area of this? So it's just asking us how we would do it, but we'll go ahead and do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call this shape 1 the rectangle. So the rectangle is shape 1. I'm going to call, and I'll do it in 2 different colors, the half circle shape 2. Okay. So what we're going to do for the area, we would have to say area equals. It would be area 1. So actually let's change that. Let's write area total. Okay, because we want the total area at the end. Area total equals area 1 minus area 2. Well, that's going to be, area 1 is going to be 95 times 50. Okay, a rectangle is length times width. Okay, now I'm not writing out the whole formula just because we don't have space there. Minus, and then we would have pi r squared. Now pi, now r in this case is half of 50 because 50 is going all the way across. And when we look at a circle, our radius, or r, only goes part of the way, so right to the middle, and d, our diameter, goes all the way. So this is pi r squared, so this would be pi times 25 squared, but we need to divide it by 2 because we've got half of a circle. So you could go ahead and you could multiply 95 times 50 and you would get an answer. And then you would minus away your pi r squared, which is going to be minus pi, and then you'd get something in the neighborhood of 37,068. Okay, there would be decimals. You would need to put centimeters squared here, and you'd go on. To find the perimeter, however, I'm not going to actually go through and find the perimeter, but we would do something very similar. So what we'd be looking at with the perimeter, we need to add up all the sides. So my sides for this are going to be 1, 2, 3, and then half of the circle. So I would have perimeter equals 95 plus 95 plus 50 plus, now the circumference or perimeter of a circle is 2 pi r, or pi times d, and we only need half of it. So we're going to have pi times d divided by 2. And that would give us our answer. Okay, so if we were looking at this, if we did pi times 50 divided by 2, and then we added 95, and 50, we'd get 318.5. So it's actually not a hard calculation, so we'll go ahead and do that. Now the reason that I got a decimal, and I actually got a decimal in the first one, it has to do with pi. Pi is always going to give us a decimal unless we can divide it out. So looking at this one, how would you find the perimeter and area of this shape? So I'm not gonna go through and do it. For the first one, there's kind of two ways you can look at this. So for the area of this first one, we could make the whole big shape 15 by 30. That could be 1. And this little shape right here could be 2. And we could say the area total is area 1 minus area 2. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Okay, so we would have 15 times 30 minus 8 times 10. Okay, and that's going to be 450 minus 80, so you're going to get 370. Okay. When we're looking at another way to do this, okay, so we won't write that answer out, but when we're looking at another way to do this, we could have done this. Area 1 plus area 2 plus area 3. But doing this, we actually have to find it's a couple different lengths and things like that. We know that this is equal to 8, and we know that this side is 10. Well, if that side's 10 and the whole side here is 15, that's going to tell me that this is 5 down here. If this whole side is 30 and this is 8 in the middle, we're going to divide it equally on either side. Even though it doesn't actually say that it is, we can assume that it's divided equally on either side. So we know that this is going to be 11 and 11. All right, so there are a bunch of different ways we can do this. That would be your second method to find the area. So you'd have area 1 plus area 2 plus area 3, and they're all going to be length times width. It's just a different way of looking at it. Both right, both going to give you the right answer, just a little bit more to the second one. All right, if we were finding the perimeter. Now to find the perimeter of this, there really is a couple ways you could do it, but there's only, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't do it this way. You know those are 15, so perimeter is 15 plus 15, or 15 times 2. Now you could actually add 38, 11, so I don't know why I'm dashing all these. So 38, 11, 11, 10, and 10. So plus 30, plus 8, plus 11, plus 11, plus 10, plus 10. And that's probably the easiest way to do it. Okay. The other way you could look at it is, we know that this side is 15. We know that this side is 15. So we could say perimeter is 15 plus 15. We know that this is 30. And it has to go all the way across here, which is also 30. So plus 30, plus 30. Okay, that's going to take out this, this, and this. And then we've just got 2 10s left. So plus 10, plus 10. It's a little bit less writing, a little bit less math than that first method, and it's going to give you the right answer. So, moving on to this last one. It says determine the area and the perimeter of this figure. Okay, the area is pretty easy. We've got shape 1, shape 2. We're going to use our formulas. We know the area of a triangle is half base times height, or base times height divided by 2. So we'd have area total equals base times height over 2, plus, we just have half of a circle. So again, circle area is pi r squared. So we've got plus pi r squared over 2. Well, our base is, let's call 5 times 6. The base is 5 right here. The height is 6 divided by 2. So we've got 30 over 2 plus pi times, now r is only half of the circle, so it's 2.5, not 5, squared by 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add all that together. So 2.5 squared is going to give us 6.25. So we've got pi times 6.25 all divided by 2. So we're going to get something like this. We've got 9.8 plus 15, so this is 15 plus 9.8 equals 24.8, and we're in centimeters squared. That squared is important because it's area. Now the perimeter of this, I'm going to just do a little erasing on our diagram. The perimeter of this shape is actually, this is one of the most common things that people get wrong. The perimeter goes here, and a lot of people want to include that cross line, but it's not actually part of this triangle, that what we're looking at. We're going to look there, we're going to look there, and we're going to include this. So we need to find the hypotenuse to actually figure this out. So what we're going to do is we're going to say h squared equals 6 squared plus 5 squared. So then h equals the square root of 36 plus 25, which is the square root. And I'm going to leave it like this until kind of the end, the square root of 61. Okay, so I don't want to actually put that answer in anywhere. I don't need to. You could put it somewhere, but it's not going to really help us. Okay, so perimeter equals 6 plus, because that 6 is included, the hypotenuse is included, root 61, plus, and we have to do half of that circle on the top. So that's going to be half of pi times d. So pi times 5 over 2. Okay, so we've got root 61 is 7.8, or 7.81, plus 6 plus we're going to do 2.5 times pi, because 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So this is going to be equal to 21.7 centimeters. Okay, and here are a few questions that kind of go along with